is the submission to Hamilton City Council Waste Management and Minimisation Strategy Review. We have Valerie down the end there, and Tracy, do you need an introduction?
Not really. Through you, Mr. Chair, I think I'll pass it over to Valerie. It's a fairly straightforward submission, but an important piece of work that we are involved in. To the right, I think.
Kia ora. Thank you, everyone. So as you may or may not know, territorial authorities are required to, under the Waste Minimisation Act, to have a waste minimization and management plan, and that is reviewed every 6 years. So Hamilton City Council is proposing a review, which they're not calling a plan, they're calling it a strategy. But regardless of that, there is clear alignment between our WRC Waste Prevention Action Plan and their new strategy. So one of the key parts of our Waste Prevention Action Plan is on collaboration and partnership, and you'll see that we've been listed as a key player in Hamilton City Council's strategy. So if you go to the next slide, I don't know if I can control that or not. Oh, sorry, the next one after that. So we're listed as a key stakeholder for them in their strategy. That we support their strategy for a number of reasons. Like I said, there's clear alignment between their action plan and, our action plan and their strategy. And one of the key areas that we've been working on them with long-term that's listed in their strategy is around construction and demolition waste. So that reinforces both the issue, but also our partnership as well. So the image on the right is a project that we worked with them on, consulting with industry and finding out what's happening out there now and where we might go in terms of solving the construction and demolition waste issue. So we made a series of videos with them. The other big issue they're looking at is organic management, organic material management, so food scraps, green waste, that kind of thing. And that's also an area that we have a big project on when we have received funding from Ministry for Environment for our own organics project. So those are two areas that we look to partner with them on. So in terms of our submission to them, it's pretty straightforward. Like Tracy said, we support their strategy and in its new form. I guess the other area of alignment that I should mention is they discuss circular economy, which is another area that we are focusing on in our waste prevention action plan as well. So that's pretty much it. We pretty much support their strategy, and we looked for areas of partnership moving forward.
Thanks, Valerie. Questions around the table? No?
Thank you for the report and support where we're going. My question is probably more strategic, and so for lifting up, when are we as a region going to look at rationalising our waste management, extent of waste processing centres? I'll quickly cite an example I saw on National Geographic, which had nothing else to do. A truckload of big yellow truck in New York did the collection, went into the recovery centre, dropped it on the ground. So it's a whole big, probably 20-odd, 30-tonne of rubbish, and it went through processing, flicked out the glass and the aluminium and the steel and all the other stuff. And at the end of the process, there was less than half a wheelbarrow of rubbish left to be disposed of because everything else was recycled. Now, New York's got millions of people, I appreciate, and economy of scale, but Waikato is so far behind in recovering, and I see now we've nationalised the 1, 2, 5 plastics, but the others have got to go somewhere, and hopefully they get out of the system, and maybe. But when is Waikato region, if it's taking on this role of supporting the TAs, going to help put the heat on a more centralised and better recovery action and recycling?
So I'm just to be clear on the question, your question is, can we as a region provide guidance for recycling and rubbish? Is that the question?
More so coordination of upscaling and centralising so that we can actually, the economies of scales for 11 TAs is not going to do it on their own, but a centralised processing would obviously be a much better, way to do it.
So there's one complication and then there's one opportunity that I'll discuss. So the complication there is that as a regional council, we don't have a legislative mandate to waste and recycling. So that's why we fulfill the role that we do in coordinating. And we provide more education and research and bringing our 11 TAs together for joint projects. So that's the complication. The opportunity is that because we have demonstrated a successful waste minimization fund project with Ministry for Environment, we have been invited to apply again this March to look at what regional application of the action and investment plan could look like. So that's a bit of a mouthful and it doesn't really explain what it is, but so basically looking at a regional approach to distributing waste levy funding within our region, but having that more coordinated approach. It wouldn't necessarily be around curbside rubbish and recycling, because that's the role that the national standardization should play, is that we're standardizing curbside across the country, and then it's for the territory authorities to administer that. But it's kind of stepping one step higher in the waste hierarchy and looking at how we might get past rubbish and get people to and industry to produce less and move to a more circular economy. So I hope that answers the question that you're asking.
Look, I appreciate the answer, but it doesn't seem to be an appetite to move TAs beyond their own boundaries to achieve greater economy of scale and therefore a greater opportunity to recycle. And that's my concern. So maybe I'll leave it a little and take it offline. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we're falling into the realm of statutory change to try and help that process along.
The Valerie, you've just said that it's coordination or Valerie, yeah. And that's fine. But at what level do we encourage better cooperation between councils to achieve a better outcome?
We do that, and there's a huge appetite, actually. And there's been lots of discussions about how to do that, and that's probably the space that we're going to move into, but not necessarily with curbside rubbish and recycling, but we're going to move into the space. But I realize that we're time poor in this meeting, and I'm happy to have a discussion about this, but I don't necessarily know that we would benefit from economy of scale or centralization in that case. But this is a whole nother can of worms.
Jennifer online.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks, Valerie, for presenting the really good submission. I'm happy to move it. But I also do just want to honour Councillor Noel Smith's comments. I completely agree with every one of them. And if there could be some time put aside in future for hearing more from Valerie and the work and what our council can do to support that, I'd appreciate that, because I'm mindful last triennium's council was very positive about this work, and we just don't hear about it very much, actually. And I think that I'd be surprised if this council wasn't as well, because we all know we have an issue there, and a lot of opportunity for improvement where this council can do its job better and help others do their job better. Thank you.
Jennifer, can I just confirm whether you're supporting the motion in two, either A or B, please?
Yes, sorry, it's a very small screen. I'm happy. I haven't heard any other comments to make it B, so I would be going 1 and 2A.
Thank you. Ben?
Yeah, I second it.
Thank you. Any other questions from councillors? All those in favour? Opposed? So carried. Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you.
Right, next up we have the submission on the Bay of Plenty Regional Council Navigation Safety Bylaws. Yes.
Pretty simple report. I'm happy to move.
Second that.
Chopping through it. We have an A or B again. If there's anything discussed again, we haven't discussed anything.
Explain to me, we're approving the submission, and then we're delegating you and the C to lodge it.
No.
If there was any discussions that came out of it contrary to what's in the report or auxiliary to what's in the report.
But you've still got to lodge it.
Can I just
Yes.
help councillors out? So these are our standard provisions where we approve it. So we will be lodging it. So for, I understand in B it says the approval for lodgement, and in A it says approves. So I guess it's just saying if you go A, it goes straight away through the electronic tubes today. If there are the amendments, as we have in some, then the committee is happy that in this instance it is the chief executive, because there is a hiccup in the delegations manual that is being cleared, because previously it is a delegation that I hold, having sat through this committee and understood the conversation. So this is no different to what we do previously. You either get A, where you're happy with it, B, where as a result of discussions, and you'll understand we always double back, summarise those discussions and approve it for lodgement then.
So I'd suggest, with respect, it's not very well written. Regardless whether or not you have amendments, you're still delegating someone to bloody lodge it.
We'll tidy it up.
It's a bit
Mr.
messy.
Chair.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether you want to drive all the way to, can you do it online?
It's always done
Yeah,
online,
cool, yeah.
where possible.
Thank you, Stu. Were there any additional comments, Chris, that you wanted to make?
No, none whatsoever. It's pretty straightforward, I think.
As read. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All those in favour? Opposed? So carried. Indeed. Next one, we have the update on the Central Government Resource Management Reform Program, February 2024.
Mr.
Tracy, I'll
Chair,
leave that to you.
for councillors' information, also for the public's information, as there are some public who do read these agendas. And whilst you've had a briefing in regard to fresh water at your workshop last week, this is all of the policy projects that we have underway, how they will or won't be impacted. It is a fast-moving trajectory. We know we will be expecting some change through March at Select Committee with respect to the fast track consenting bill, and some very specific changes to the MPS freshwater management. I will just say we will bring those to you as we always do, or we will call the submission subcommittee. But the stuff, as it's happened in the last two governments, is happening at pace, and where we don't get sufficient time, we will make sure that an email goes out to councillors advising of that.
Thank you, Tracy. Ben?
I was just going to say, it's a good report. It summarises it well in what is quite complicated situation. So I'm happy to move.
Thank you. Tracy, just from me, we had any other correspondence just prior to this report coming out?
No, we
No.
haven't. Bruce, Lizette, Brent and I were on a call with MFE officials last week. It was an interesting call, nothing directive. What I will do is, as soon as we get the correspondence, we will start circulating it to councillors, so you're not waiting for a monthly report.
Thank you, Tracy. Stu?
Oh, thanks. So Tracy, just a question. It talked about the retention of a temporary fast track consenting regime. That was the COVID initiated one field. So they're reintroducing it rather than
Government is looking to reintroduce next month a more comprehensive fast track consenting process. There were some pieces of the previous legislation that were enabled. Brent, are you able to help us just understand what bits were in, are out, and you'll need a microphone.
And just while you're there too, I also noted a couple of comments about existing treaty settlements, because some of this fast track stuff is understandably raising the angst of iwi, and I read a couple of comments say that such as Te Ture Paimana will still have adequate regard to, etc., etc.
Yeah, if I can just respond to those before I pass over to Brent. So anything in existing treaty settlements remains. and remains as it is in statute at the moment. Obviously, things that have been negotiated might look differently, but those that exist remain, and we know that the ministry is having some challenges just knitting it all together as we'd anticipate.
Yes, Jim, the language about retention, otherwise you're right, the COVID legislation, they can't lodge anymore. There's still a few, as you're aware, that are still going through that are being lodged under the COVID fast track legislation. Of course, they had some enabling processes around cyclone recovery as well, which was additional to the COVID recovery. So I think what the language is, the government's looking to, I guess, wrap all of that up into this new system. They're moving very quickly on that. And I'm not sure, Tracy, if you're aware of the select committee timing, but it's pretty soon. Pretty soon they're looking to get that into select committee, and the very issues that you've raised around representation of iwi. How are they ensuring that existing? One of the big things that our council raised with them was when they were talking about ensuring the new legislation provided for existing legislative treaty settlement processes. We were very clear to say that the legislative treaty settlement processes for the Waikato created a joint management arrangement where that's where the details land around how consenting operations are operative. So we gave them a pretty clear steer that they need to look beyond the legislation into those joint management agreements when they're looking at putting in place the fast track legislation.
Sorry, just to clarify for councillors. So we understand that the fast track consenting bill will be introduced into the House the first week in March.
Thank you. No other questions? Then we have a motion before us that's been moved by Councillor Dunbar-Smith. I'll second it. All those in favour? Opposed? So carried. Right, the next one up, page 28, update on the proposed Waikato Regional Coastal Plan submissions.
No, through you, Mr. Chair, we've got the curse of a autocorrect that has. Or we could have done that, however, we haven't. It's a curse of the autocorrect. I apologise for that. Councillor Dunbar-Smith pointed out the 3 or 4 places that appeared in the agenda. This is really for information, noting that we notified the plan in August and some things have been happening in the background.
Mr. Chairman, very good report. Happy to move. Sorry, guys, but.
Thank you. Noel's stomach's rumbling. We will get a brief rundown. Thank you, Bruce. Whoever's going to grab it.
Yeah, thank you, councillors. I'm going to hand over to Chris. It's his team that's been doing all the hard work on the summarising of submissions, and they're the ones that deserve the credit for the work that's been done. So.
Thanks, Bruce. Tēnā koutou kia ora. As you no doubt know, we notified the new regional coastal plan on the 18th of August last year. Submissions closed a few months later on the 14th of November. And since that date, the team and a few extras from within council have been summarising the submission points, the points in those submissions. 1,359 submissions. 1,252 of those were pro forma submissions lodged through the Legacy website, which they have made their opinions quite clear. We also received 107 other submissions that some of those were quite small, only contained a small handful of submission points. Others, such as Coromandel Marine Farmers Association, Aquaculture New Zealand, or the Royal Forest and Bird, contained several hundred submission points each. We believe we're going to have a total of 3,100 submission points, which is covering most parts of the plan. Certain parts such as aquaculture, biodiversity, how we provide for energy generation on the West Coast, and the rules, especially in the structures and disturbance and deposition chapters, have had the most number of points raised. There have also been quite a few submission points that are outside the scope of the plan, asking us to deal with such things such as plantation forestry, fresh water quality, or straying into Fisheries Act or consent processes. Next slide, please. So the next step is once my team have summarised all of the submissions, and what I've heard today is we're finishing off the details on one of them, we will publish what is a very boring document, which is all of these submissions requested in a document with the points organised by submitter name, by submitter number, and also by the provisions submitted on. Once this is notified, we are allowing 20 working days for submitters to submit whether they oppose or support existing submission points, but they can't introduce any new submission points. Following that, the team will be hard at work writing the Section 42A recommendation, which is considering the plan as it is and the submissions and the Section 32A report we've written, what recommendations are going to be made to the hearings panel. Hearings are at the moment, we're penciling them in for late this year, and the question with timing is whether or not they will need to straddle the Christmas New Year break. And you will notice there is a point there saying that we will be taking a report to you in April addressing appointing this hearings panel. So, we received, it wasn't a small or a large number. We reckon it's about normal for this type of process, and nothing too much has come from left field. So the team will be happily working away for the majority of this year, trying to improve the coastal plan.
Thank you. Look forward to that report in April. Noel, did you want to comment? No. Noting your move. Yeah. Ben.
Yeah, just Section 32A, does that give the economic analysis as well? And if so, when do we see that?
Yeah, just a point of clarification.
Different than a 32.
Yeah, the Section 32 is not only narrowly focused on economic analysis, it's on an analysis the costs and benefits of undertaking the objectives and policies of the plan that we have. The Section 42A is the reporting planner's report that takes into account all the matters written in the submissions, all 3,000 submission points, and make recommendations for dealing with that to the hearings panel. And then the hearings panel can either take on board those recommendations or choose to develop their own.
And so is there an economic component to what the hearings panel considers?
If the matter is raised in submissions to the coastal plan, and from a reporting officer perspective believes that we need to get additional technical information, be it economic analysis, ecological analysis, then that will be part of that report, or the hearings panel could in fact ask for further information on that. It's not something that we automatically commission as part of responses, because we wait to see what's in the submissions.
Clyde.
Thanks. Just looking at the type of submissions, you point out that 1252 were pro forma type submissions. When considering submissions, pro forma type submissions given less consideration? Do you treat them as pumped out by everyone and their buddies, or do you actually count them as significant?
Yes, every submission point, every point that is asking for, has an opinion or is asking for a change to the plan, has to be recorded as a submission point, And that includes I think we put around 180 submission points from these 1,252 legacy submissions. Each one of them contained 7 outcomes they wanted, plus there were 170 odd personal points that people had written in that we've taken as seeking an outcome. Every submission point has to have a response. So every submission point is given, it's judged on its merits.
Yep.
Is the best way of putting it.
Thank you. Thanks for the report. If there's no other questions, we have a mover and Noel. I have a seconder. Thank you, Bruce. All those in favour? Opposed? So carried. Thank you, gentlemen. Next one up is our regional adaptation planning summary.
Councillors, this was in response to a request from yourselves, where you wish to have at least at 6 monthly intervals an update of the work that is occurring in the regional adaptation space. Alejandro has basically pulled this together from what's happening across the organisation, and you'll note that there will be a report coming to council around appointments of members to another work stream that we've got going on. So, Alejandro, any high points from yourself?
Thank you, Tracy, and thank you to the committee for allowing me to briefly speak to the report. I'll just draw your attention to paragraphs 4 and 5 of your agenda pack. So that's page 31. It's essentially paragraph 4 is the snapshot of the projects that are active in the 3 districts, with the notable mention in paragraph 5 of the decision by the Port Waikato Resilience Working Group to change the way they've been working and engaging with both Waikato District and Regional Council. So the community will take a lead in Waikato District will follow its energy on the Waikato Resilience Strategy, to which Waikato Regional Council has appointed governance members. Apart from that, just to highlight the more detail, you can find it in the table on paragraph 15, page 33. That's essentially a more expanded view. And then in both attachments, pages 35 to 38, that is all the recent detail of each of the active projects that we have. And page 39 is a second attachment, which is just a graphic representation in a timeline form of the projects.
Thanks, Alejandro, and a rather comprehensive report. Noel.
Yeah, thanks for the report. Enlightening. So a question, I and Tipper were appointed to the Waikato Resilience Working Group on 30 November. Would it be possible to find out from Waikato District what the timeframes are or likely times that they would require us? I don't want to be just a tick box that they've made an appointment and they carry on. So I really want to have some idea of what they're seeking from us and when would they be looking at having meetings or otherwise, so, rather than left up in the air. So and maybe help for the other appointments too.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, I think that would be a really good practice for us to request a bit of a briefing note, how frequently you'd like to meet and what are the actual roles and responsibilities it will fulfil, so that we have a bit of a run sheet of what our expectations are for elected members. It will also help staff ensure you're comprehensively briefed as well.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just to make a note, we had a meeting Friday last week with Waikato District where we discussed precisely this point. So there will be, we anticipate that they will be in contact with our executive and councillors to essentially have a meeting to discuss some of those matters. But right now, what we're doing is just a front loading of the project. So all the project management and plotting out the actions at this moment. So it's early stages still, but that will happen, yes.
Thank you. Any other questions for Alejandro? So we have a motion here to receive the report. I'm happy to move. Happy to second. Councillor Graf. All those in favour? Opposed? So carried. And while he's still on the hot seat, we have the submission summary report for February 2024. Once again, this is a normal standing agenda item, so quite a comprehensive outline there. So I'm sure we can take that as read, and any key points around that, Alejandro?
Sorry, I just mixed up my pages, but happy to take it straight through you, Mr. Chair, but it's just to highlight two, in the time since drafting the report, we had two submissions that were signed under delegated authority based on what Tracy mentioned, the refresh of the procedural delegations manual. So one was the building dam safety regulations. It was a very, very short turnaround targeted consultation. So that was lodged with the MBIE, the Ministry for Business, Innovation and Employment, on the 9th of February, signed by the CEO under delegated authority. And the other one was comments that were also sent to the minister related to the fast track consenting legislation. So that's not the submission, that is just, I think, initial comments that were meant to go on the 12th of
They were
February.
technical comments from
Technical
staff.
comments, correct, yes.
Thank you. Tracy, you have a comment?
Yeah,
And I'll go to
Mr.
Ben.
Chair, just one thing I wanted to highlight for council. We do have a number of matters that are before the Environment Court. We've got Plan Change 1, we've got our MPS Urban Development. We also have some matters under appeal that Lizette, Alejandro and Miffy are furthering. So it is my intention to bring an update report on matters before the Environment Court for you. That'll be part of this session. I think it's important you're aware of what some of those are, particularly within your constituencies.
Thanks, Tracy. Ben?
Great report, and the coloured diagram is very helpful, particularly where the white parts indicate new things. I've read what the proposed plan change 6 extension to Martha Mine mineral zone is. Can you give us any more background on that?
Do you, Mr. Chair, I do not have the full detail for the processes just because they're managed by different people on the team. So
That's fine. I can
yes,
take it what's read here. So it just, yeah. It's fine.
Yep, thanks. Thanks, Ben. Clyde? Oh, thank you.
So you could kill your thing, so that's fine. Just curious with the page 43 on the HCC Plan Change 9, Heritage and SNAs. Do you know if that's how significant that is? The changing of the mapping of the SNAs in that area.
To you, Mr. Chair, so this Plan Change 9 is partly in response to changes to the National Policy Statement for Urban Development. It is some changes to provisions on heritage and SNAs. Largely, we support the position that Hamilton City had just because of the way how they manage significant natural areas. At the moment, we're waiting on decisions to be released for some of the other parts and looking at whether we will need to appeal some of those decisions. So that's still work in progress to assess that significance. And further information would be contained in the report that Tracy just mentioned relating those district planning matters.
Thank you. Chris, did you have a good? Just, okay. Any other questions for Leandro? Online. So we have a motion in front of us to accept the report that be received. Seconder, thank you, Clyde. Nominated Clyde. Seconded, thank you, Ben. All those in favour? Aye. Opposed? So carried. So that brings us to the end of our program. Just one thing I'd like to make councillors aware of, that this will be James's last day supporting us in strategy and policy. So I'd just like personally to thank you very much, James, for your support you've given me and the rest of the committee. Thank you very much, and wish you well in your new venture, although you're not going too far away. And apparently they tell me if the money increases, you'll be back. So thank you. Tracy, can I jump to a Karakia?
Yes, and thanking James. Thanks from us for all the support. It's not been easy. As you can imagine, councillors, I'm not the easiest director to please. So well done, James, for your patience, and also welcome to Leah, who will be our ongoing democracy advisor for this committee. Councillors, just before I karakia, we do have lunch. It is ready. There's somebody in Tui Kōwhai, so please give them 5 minutes to move out of the room. Dave's given them a 5-minute call, and then your lunch will be available. Unuhia mai te uri tapanui. He wātea kia mama, te ngākau te tenana te hiningaro. I te ara takatū, koe rā I rongo, I whakaaria ake ki runga, kia tina, humiea huie tākie. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tracy. Declare the meeting closed at 11:48. Thank you, councillors.